So, this week we have a new book out, which is super exciting. But before we get to our new book, remember if you want to support us, come across to our website where we have books and writing services, or you can have a look at our Redbubble store where we have over 100 designs. If you don't want to spend any money, totally cool. Like, subscribe, comment, or share. That really, really helps. And if you are listening to this between October 1st and December 31st, 2025, we have submissions open. So if you're Australian and you have a manuscript, come along and check us out and see if you've got what it takes. So we're going to get to our book now. The chapters in this are quite short, so I'm actually going to read 2 chapters. I usually just read 1. But this is chapter 1 of Mother Trouble by Eva Leppard. Lauren rearranged her new shipment of smoky quartz in the shop's front window, carefully aligning the crystals in an attempt to catch the midwinter sun's morning rays. She had just stood back to admire the aesthetics and decide whether the prisms would now draw more customers inside when the entire world exploded around her. When she lifted her head from the floor after everything had stopped swimming around in an unpleasantly drunken fashion, she saw that nothing was out of place. The quartz was exactly where she had left it, stubbornly not catching the sunlight. The feathered dream catchers hanging from the ceiling were swaying gently in their usual manner, and the steam of incense floating up from the green man sculpture that sat on the shop's counter continued to drift in gentle wafts. Maybe the world hadn't exploded after all. Lauren pushed herself up into her hands, then rose unsteadily to her feet, glancing around to see if anyone had noticed she had just bodily hurled herself to the floor with little to no apparent provocation. The customers were carrying on as if nothing untoward had happened, but given the fact that the Tantric Om was the kind of shop that hosted classes such as Face Your Fears through Crawling Therapy, Screaming Meditation, and Make Your Own Yoni Eggs, it's all about placement. Falling to the floor while clutching your head wasn't that odd, and moaning a little was something that was encouraged rather than tolerated. Taking deep breaths through her nose in an attempt to stave off the nausea flitting around in her stomach, Lauren fixed a tight smile on her face and took a seat behind the counter. Smoke from the incense floated into her nostrils and her stomach gave a hearty lurch. Without thinking, she grabbed the incense, holder and all, and dropped it into the bubbling water feature that also sat on the counter. The glowing incense sizzled dismally to itself for a moment, then died. Lauren frowned. That was aggressively out of character. She rubbed the bridge of her nose. Air. She needed air. Fresh air, or as fresh as the air could be in the middle of Melbourne. Morty! She called to the wispy, bearded young man who sat in an armchair by the beaded curtain at the back of the shop's long main room. He was reading a copy of Meditation Nation and rolling a herbal cigarette. Morty, can you come up here and watch things for a minute? I need to nip out. He slid the magazine back into the pile, jumped up eagerly and beamed, Of course, that's why I'm here, on the off chance you'll need me, and slid his tall, thin body into the chair Lauren had just vacated, and frowning slightly, eyed the submerged incense holder. Everything okay? Don't change the music, Lauren said, gingerly lifting her handbag from the floor. Her head was beginning to pound, and she suspected that bending down would bring on another collapsing situation. Before you start, the whale songs are staying on. The customers like it, and your band's demo tape doesn't vibe with the deep sense of connectedness and willingness to part with their money that I want from my customers. You've become so mercenary, he muttered, drying the green man on his hemp shirt. He scratched at the soaked residue with his fingernail. This was going to be an absolute bugger to get out. You've lost your hippie heart since you were given this place. Bills, my love, making coin, that's what it's all about. I'm a boss babe business chick now, or something. She kissed him lightly on the cheek, his wispy beard tickling her lips. I'm not sure how long I'll be. I'll send you a message. You said a minute, he called after her, retreating back as she pushed open the glass front doors. The reproduction Celtic bells hung on the handle, jangling. As she waved without turning around, she reflected, not for the first time, how lucky she was to have an unemployed 28-year-old in love with her. The street was busy, of course. It was a main commercial road, and people flocked to it, milling around, window shopping, and looking for just the right flavour of artisanal, hand-raised coffee bean. Lauren noted that no one else looked as if they had just experienced a brain-melding explosion, and this was the final confirmation she needed to understand that whatever had just happened had happened to her alone, and she had a sick, dawning realization that she might have had what was usually described as a medical event. Whipping out her phone, she searched, am I having a brain aneurysm? Headache, check. Nausea, check. Drooping facial features? She looked at her reflection in the window of her shop, peering through narrowed eyes to try and make out her face in the glass. It didn't look particularly droopy. It looked like its usual blue-haired, slightly rounded, increasingly careworn 45-year-old self, but maybe it was hard to make important judgments about your health when you were in the grips of a major episode, vicious cycle and all that. As she took in the last symptom on the list, hearing a loud pop, she realized she absolutely had to get to a doctor as quickly as possible. But at that moment, the world-exploding thing happened again, and this time, when she dropped to the ground, she didn't open her eyes for a long time. Chapter 2. The tall man with angular features and a dark swipe of black hair glanced around as he adjusted the device inside his ear. He hoped that it was small enough to be hidden, but also knew that the being he was about to meet would probably see it within about 5 seconds. Erigagor wanted to disaster-proof as many areas as he could before things kicked off, in the full knowledge of how spectacularly badly this might end up. Of course, he would have preferred if it was his boss standing here instead of him, but that wasn't possible, apparently. As the bitter wind cut into him, he pulled his favourite burgundy velvet smoking jacket tightly around himself. He wouldn't have chosen the in-between places to meet either, truth be told. But his boss had quite specific instructions about how this should be done. Lull him into a false sense of security, pretend everything was okay, then bam, banishment. He felt a drop in the air pressure and looked around again. Within a few meters of where he was standing, everything disappeared into a murky, ghostly fog, which he knew stretched out to infinity all around him. What irritated him even more was the fact that there was a perfectly lovely tropical biome, just a slight dimensional shift up from where he was standing. But that wouldn't have worked, according to his boss. Everything needed to be cold and bleak and atmospheric for this job. It could be so bloody dramatic. Amazing boss, fabulous in all ways, but just a little bit dramatic. So he had delegated. Of course, he wanted to still be involved, hence the earpiece. A resonant gong echoed in the air, and a being stood before him. A familiar being, but his appearance always caused Egregore to jump. The stacked heel boots made him a little less short than he was naturally, and the sneer tended to remind those who saw him of a young Elvis. Momentarily, that is, the thought of, oh, that guy reminds me of a young Elvis, was usually hijacked by the thought of, this is utterly terrifying and horrific, and I think I'm about to die. The being glanced around, a flicker of surprise flashing across his eyes before the steely glint returned to them, and he fixed his eyes on Erigor. What? He said. I was in the middle of something. Why isn't he here? I don't deal with underlings. Oh, Lucius, you bloody do, snapped Erigor. You'll deal with anyone if you're bored enough. Don't try that tough guy routine with me. I've seen you with a deep moisturising mask on, remember? Yes, well, you need to learn to knock before you walk into people's hotel rooms. Where is Devon anyway? Said Lucius, pushing his fringe out of his eyes. He should be here. I thought he'd want to see me. I'm here on his account. He doesn't even know this is happening. Oh, rubbish. There's no way you'd be here if it wasn't on his say-so. I don't know why you even bother to try and lie. That's my job, remember? Prince of Lies and all that? There was a low whisper in Egregor's earpiece. What's going on? Don't let him distract you. Don't get lost in the impossible blueness of his eyes. Just focus on the job at hand. Egregor ignored it. We have a problem, he said. Good, said Lucius. I like problems. They're my kind of jam. Is it a bad problem? Does it involve people dying or misery or some such? That's my favourite. You've been down on earth again, said Egregor, refusing to be sidetracked. Yes, said Lucius. That's allowed. Do I need to show you the contract? Egregor tapped the folder that he clasped firmly in his hands. No need, I've got it all right here. And funny you should mention that, because legalities are what we're discussing today. You've been involving yourself in some unsanctioned behaviour. Once again, said Lucius, with an odd little twist of his head. Kind of my jam. If I wasn't doing unpredictable and unsanctioned things, then what kind of an adversary would I be? But this time, continued Egregor, you're dealing with imagios, and that's a problem. I'm not dealing with them, said Lucius with a glint in his eye. I'm killing them, painfully if possible. You need to stop. That's not going to happen. Imagios are rodent scum and deserve to die, especially the misshapen ones. The ones with miniature heads and strange wings and duck's feet for legs. Those ones I really can't stand. I killed a baby the other day, a little girl, blinked it right out of existence. It screamed for its mother before it went. They don't have souls either, apparently, so when they're done, they're done. No other world for them. Egregor felt his chest tighten. The voice buzzed in his ear again. What's happening? What's he saying now? Is he wearing the denim jacket I bought him? Egregor pressed his finger against the earpiece to silence the voice. Imagios are created by humans, as you know, said Egregor. Exactly. All the more reason to get rid of them. No, exactly the opposite. You only have authority over humans. He opened up the folder and pointed to a clause with a string of Roman numerals next to it. See here, you only have jurisdiction that he gives you, and human-created beings that were not created at the outset, designated Section 52 Delta Hydro, do not fall into those parameters. Lucius shrugged. I don't care. That's a stupid rule. They're just vermin anyway. Why in Hades is he worried about me killing them? Let me talk to him. Is he around here somewhere? I can clear this up in 2 seconds. Egregor shut the folder tersely. I don't think that you understand the gravity of this. You need to stop killing imagios. It's extremely serious. I'm not prepared to go into all the details, but I have clear and specific instructions to tell you to cease and desist immediately. This isn't just shits and giggles, Lucius. This means something. There are flurries in the undertone. Why would I care about that? Said Lucius. I like it when they scream. It's very entertaining. Well, in that case, you leave me no choice. There was a buzz in his earpiece again as the earpiece turned itself on. Right, I've got vision of you both. Did you tell him that there are flurries in the undertone? That his actions are causing a flux in the trans-dimensional continuum of alternate realities, and if he keeps killing them, it will cause a rip in the space-time fabric of reality. Did you tell him that? I mentioned the flurries, muttered Egregor into his collar, not caring if Lucius heard him at this stage, but not the rest, because I feel like that's something he would quite enjoy, and he'd just lean into the whole process even more. I'm trying not to mention it. What's that? Said Lucius. Who are you talking to? Are you mic'd? Is he watching us? He stepped back and looked up into the air. Come and talk to me, Devon. I miss you. Come and talk to me and we can discuss this together. Egregore raised his voice and opened his folder to the break glass in case of emergency section at the back. I will ask you one more time. Will you stop killing the Imagios? Lucius ignored him. Devon, he called. Devon, please come and talk to me. I miss you. In that case, continued Egregore, by the powers vested in me, and as he read the next few lines, Lucius's face began to blanch. Behind him, a small vortex formed in the air just above Lucius's head. It was just a transparent wobble at first, barely noticeable, but it grew quickly until it began to tousle his hair. You must be joking, he said. Devon would never have agreed to this. There's no way I can spend thousands of years stuck in a... Before he could finish the sentence, the vortex throbbed. A flash darted out of it, and Lucius's body, impossibly elongated, disappeared into the air like wet spaghetti down a plug hole. Egregore sighed deeply, smoothed back his hair, and headed back to the office for what he suspected would be a day of work that stretched into the evening. Okay, so that is chapters 1 and 2 of Mother Trouble. If you want to continue finding out what is happening, come across to the website and you can purchase Mother Trouble as either a paperback or an ebook, and it is also available at major retailers. There's a list of retailers on the website. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we will be back with another video next week. Bye-bye. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.